Hey guys, just wanted to do a video for just the power players, and that's those of you that are on this page here. And so this message is just for you, and I just wanted to share some things that I have been learning and some things that I have been working on, and it really all comes down to business strategy. And so, really some of the things, part of this, are not new things that I hadn't heard about. I've been told, to strategize, look at who your key players are, figure out how you can help them, run with the people who really want to work this business, who can really use your time. I've heard all of these things almost since day one. But some things over the course of this past month have really sunk in with me. And so I just wanted to start sharing what I am doing and what I encourage you guys to do. So as you're looking at your goals, first of all, it starts with you. So look at your goals. What are your goals? And you have to have these set in order for the rest of the business strategy to even make sense. There's no point in doing it if you don't have your goal written down. So for me, I'm working on Emerald by July 31st. That is my first big goal. And so when I'm looking at that goal, then I started doing this at the end of April, kind of a 3-month approach. But when I look at that goal, I'm breaking it down. I'm saying, okay, where am I right now, today, and what is my goal? And so for me, that goal is by July 31st. And so at the end of this month, I'll have 2 months left to work and meet that goal. So when I'm looking at my business strategy, I need to break things down into these 2 months that I have in order to reach that goal. Okay, so that's the very first thing that you want to do when you are working on business strategy is, one, examine exactly where you are, and that is how many team members you have, how many points that you have, and then look at your goal, that next big goal that you're working on. So if that's gold, then it's looking at where you are today and then setting a timeline, going, okay, I have 10 team members today, and I know that I need approximately 20 or so, maybe a little bit more, in order to go gold. So I know that I have that gap that I have to fill in order to reach that goal of gold. Okay, and so maybe that goal is by July 31st. Maybe it's by August 31st. I think you need to look at the activity that you've been doing in your business, the momentum that you've had on your team, and the speed at which your team and you have been adding team members. And so set a challenging but realistic goal too. So, I'm not going to say I want to be diamond by July 31st because that's not realistic, because I still haven't even reached emerald or sapphire or so forth. So that's not in my sights, and that's not a realistic amount of time for me in order to gain that many team members and points. So make sure that you are evaluating where you are, how your team has been growing, and what the activities, the income producing activities that you have been doing, as well as some of the key players on your team. So it's important to evaluate income producing activities versus just busyness. And so forth. So that's the very first thing, is to set your goal and that reasonable time frame, and you have to have that time frame in order to look at your business strategy. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of use my example, and then maybe also the example of going gold. Okay, so then what you want to do is say, okay, and then you want to actually document, where am I right now? How many points and team members do I have as of today, as of Thursday, May 28th? Okay, and then how many do I need to reach this goal by that end date. So it's for me, I'm looking at that July 31st date. Maybe you are as well. Maybe it's August 31st for that next big goal. I don't know. Maybe it's June 30th. Okay, so it doesn't have to be that far out. It really depends upon where you are and what you need to get there. Okay, so documenting exactly where you are today and then the gap that is there between today and getting to your goal. Okay, and so that's kind of part 1A and part 1B. Now, number 2 is, who are your key players? Okay, so most of you probably have a primary leg under you, and that's going to be a level 1 ambassador who has the biggest team. Okay, so they are giving you the most points and the most team members. That's going to be your primary leg. And then you may have some other legs. Well, each level 1 that you have is going to be a separate leg. Okay, but you may have some other stronger legs that are kind of secondary primaries, is what I would say. So I have several really strong legs, okay, but I do have a clear primary one as well. So you want to look at all of those. You want to look at those and say, who are my key players? So it's probably going to be those people that are on those strong legs. And then it may also be some people that you identify as working their business and are making headway and have a lot of potential. Like you see that they want it, they work it, and that, you know, maybe they know a lot of people. I mean, whatever it is, you see that they have a lot of potential. And so then I suggest outlining those people, and I literally typed this up. I jotted things down and then I typed it up into a Word document, and I spelled out who are my key players that I see for my strongest legs, who are my up and comings, and where are they. So you want to, at each key player, you want to go in and document where they are. So as your team gets bigger, it's harder to tell exactly how many points one of your legs may have, because the points that they have may not necessarily be the same number of points that you get from that. And that's because different levels get different numbers of points. So if you need help with that, let me know. But really what I suggest, if you don't know, you can count up how many team members that they have under them. You can look and see how many points you're getting from them by going to your points per leg report under the reports category in your back office. And then, so that's going to tell you how many points you're getting from them towards your goals. But then what you want to do is kind of write out some things that you know about that person, okay? What have you seen as far as their commitment to the business? Where are they from your perspective? What do you see? So what do you know about maybe some of their challenges, or what their next goals are? Do you know if they're trying to reach gold or senior gold or silver, whatever it is? What is their next goal and what do they need to get there? Okay, so document that. And then I would actually contact them and say, hey, how many points do you have? Where are you? One, because you need to know that so that you can help them. And two, you can document that as well, because that lets you know how many points that they are seeing in their report, and so how far away they are from reaching their next big goal. Okay, so that's number 2, is to identify your key players. And this is, this is from your perspective. Okay, and so then what I want you to do, and what I have been doing, is saying, okay, so I have this person, they are working towards gold. They're kind of a mid-level silver. They're not a new silver, but they have a growing team. They're working towards gold. So how many more points do they need in order to get to gold? Is it 50 points? Is it 40 points? You know, what is that? And figure out what the gap is for them. Okay, so because the point that I'm getting at is, it's not just important to say, oh, who are my key players, or who's really working hard on my team that I can help and make sure that I help them reach their goals. If you don't actually break it down into who your key players are, what their goals are, and what they need to get to their goal, then you don't know really how it's going to shake out for you to get to your goal. Okay, because it's all fine and dandy to say, oh, I'm helping as many people as I can on my team to get them to where they want to be, you know, so they can reach their goals, and of course so I can reach mine. But until you really break it down into what that means, then you really don't have a strategy, and you really don't have a focus on what you're doing and how you're spending your efforts. So that's just really important. And this is just kind of where the light bulbs have come on for me. I've talked about strategy with my uplines. I've talked about key players. And it wasn't until the very end of last month, I was messaging with a couple of my uplines about strategy. And that is where the light bulb came on. And I immediately went and got pen and paper and started outlining this stuff and going, this makes so much sense. Here's how we get it done. Okay, so you want to look at your key players and you want to identify the gap that they have in order to get to their next goal and how many points that is for them. Okay, so once you identify, how many points that is for them, then you have an approximation of how many points that you would get from that. If they're all levels 1 through 3, then it's the same number of points. But once your level 1 has a level 3, then that's really a 4 for you. So the points change. But anyway, and so then when you look at their goals and what could probably feasibly be done maybe over the next 2 months or the next 3 months for them, then you know that by helping them reach that goal or a big chunk of that goal, then you are in turn, what does that mean for you? How many points does it mean for you in order to go towards your big goal that you're working towards? So I hope some of this is making sense. I would really like to go through it more of a direct conversation with you guys, or maybe show you an example of the business strategy that I have typed up. But really looking at each of your key players, documenting what you know about them and where they are in their business, where they are in points, what they need to get there, kind of setting like a target goal of how many points that they could get for that reasonable period of time in order to either reach their next goal or get a big chunk of it, and how and what that means for you and your goals. Okay, so that's number 2. Okay, and so I do that for my key players and also up and coming key players that I see on my team. Okay, and these are, most of these that I've done. So far, I've done this business strategy for my secondary primary legs. Okay, so because I have a primary leg that is growing really strongly, but I also need to continue to work on my other primary legs, my other secondary primary legs, and see how I can help them get the momentum and building going on in their teams so that I can continue to build outside of that and reach my goals that way. Okay, so that's kind of how this all works. And so then number three is then contacting each of those key players and saying, and this is what I've done with some of mine. I have, and I still have some to do, but what I have been doing is going, okay, and I've been starting with my key players, my biggest key players, and saying, okay, here is what I see, for you. Here's what I see for you as your key players. Here are my thoughts on how you could get to your next goal by helping your key players. What do you think about this? Because here's the third part. The third part is you've documented what you see from your perspective, but it makes, it doesn't amount to hella beans if it's not where that person is. So it's really important to contact that key player and begin to have a dialogue and then a conversation about strategy and going, okay, these are the key players that I see